President Bola Tinubu has ordered the immediate review of the proposed 8,000 naira conditional cash transfer to Nigerians, meant to cushion the effect of the petrol subsidy removal. The president had asked the National Assembly to approve an $800 million loan to ameliorate the hardship induced by the removal of subsidy on petrol. Tinubu said 12 million households will receive 8,000 naira monthly from the loan that is being sourced from the World Bank. Also, another 500 billion has been appropriated by the National Assembly in an amendment to the 2022 supplementary budget to mitigate hardship as a result of the subsidy cuts. Meanwhile, the National Economic Council, NEC, has unanimously resolved to do away with the National Social Register used by the former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration to implement his conditional cash transfer. This is as the federal government has announced that it will distribute 252,000 metric tons of grains to states at a subsidized rate to cushion the effect of hardship occasioned by the petrol subsidy removal. The National Economic Council met at the Council chamber in the presidential villa further said that the register had integrity issues, as the criteria for its compilation was unclear. Briefing State House correspondents at the end of the meeting, Governor Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State said, contrary to what the previous administration projected, it is not possible to digitally transfer money to the poorest of the poor, the majority of whom are unbankable. Joining me now to discuss this subject is the former National Coordinator, National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, Dr. Iorwa Apera. Dr. Apera is an accomplished development professional with over 30 years of extensive technical and managerial experience. Welcome to This Day Live, Dr. Apera. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Dr. Apera, what happened at your end? You kept me waiting for about 5 minutes. I kept waiting, where is Dr. Apera? Where is Dr. Apera? But it's good to have you, at the end of the day. Look.
Thank you.
You were the national coordinator of what was known as NASCO, the National Social Safety Coordination Office. And the issue came up after the National Economic Council meeting with the governor saying, look, they want to take charge of the social register and that what was done under your watch cannot pass the integrity tests. Are you guilty as charged? And that the register you prepared, which you told us in 2022 September, had captured about 748 local governments and had captured close to 50 million households, was not reliable. Are you guilty as charged?
I'm not guilty. And I think, as you say, in the court of law, except proven so, and I'm very sure I will not be proven guilty because the evidence abound. The data is there in all the state offices of the Federation. The social register itself is a database where you identify and register the poor and vulnerable households in the country. The register is developed by the state ministries of planning or commissions of planning across the Federation through the State Operations and Coordinating Unit SUCO, established in every state. And in every local government of the Federation, you have the community-based targeting system, community-based targeting team that is domiciled in this local government. So these local governments are also under the watch of the state government and the state governors. And so the register is developed as such. At the moment, the register stands at 15.7 million households made up of about 62 million individuals. It is by far the most comprehensive database of individuals in this country. It is interoperable with the NEC, BVN, and other national databases. And so it makes it perhaps arguable to say that they are unbankable because they are bankable. the Nigerian cash transfer program that was operated under my watch at that time also paid digital payments to the beneficiary of the cash transfer. So I think the issue will be to perhaps say to Nigerians that in each state of the federation, there's a state operation and coordinating unit that mans the state social register. Now, the social register itself is developed through a hybrid methodology. The first one is the geographical methodology, where you map the communities, the local government, using the poverty map that is developed by the Nigerian National Bureau of Statistics. In 2020, January, the Bureau of Statistics released the National Living Standard Survey that puts the absolute poverty head count of Nigeria at 40.2%. When you take that against the 203 million Nigerians at that time, it shows you about 82 million Nigerians under the poverty line. Because of COVID and the impact of it, World Bank, UNDP, and other sources say that about 10 million Nigerians fell further into poverty. If you add that to what figure it had, it's about 90 million Nigerians under poverty line. Now, the social register, when using the poverty map, identifies these poor communities where we start, the team at that time and now will start to develop the register. And once that is done, an MOU was signed with every state of the federation, every single state of the federation, as a condition to participating in that program. So all the state governors and all the state apparatus and structures reviewed by their state attorney generals before they were signed, all copies are there with NASCO to develop the register. By first engaging the civil servants who will man the State Operations Coordinating Unit offices in the Ministry of Planning. They then go to the local government and raise the local government community-based targeted teams. Average of 30 personnel of local government are selected into this team. They, in turn, engage the communities in what you call the community-based targeting system. And in this system, the local government team will go and duly sensitize the community members. Once they are duly sensitized, a date is agreed with the community members to gather at a common place, the community square. And once they do, they are divided into 3 homogeneous groups. One group is for the male, one group for women, one group for the youth. They are asked within the context of the community to define poverty. They go ahead and define what they understand by poverty within the context of the community. This approach is also deliberate because, as we know, Nigeria in itself, it's dynamic. 1 kilometer, like the songwriter says, makes another language with different cultures, different tradition. The way we perceive poverty then is different because poverty in itself, you could say, is relative. And so, once they define what poverty means to each of these groups, we ask them to identify the poor and vulnerable households within those communities deemed poor by their definition. So the women we define, the male we define, the youth we define, they will list the families that they deem as poor and vulnerable in their communities. These groups are then brought into plenary to harmonize the list.
Okay.
So each name will be called from each of the lists and the community will agree.
Dr. Apera,
before the list was made.
Dr. Apera, I get your point about
yes.
How the National Social Register is an aggregate of states' social registers. But the governors are now saying that for the purpose of the development of palliatives under the Tinubu administration, they want to develop their own social registers. What's your response to that? Do you think that your own register, the one that was developed under our watch, can stand the integrity test that Governor Soludo specifically referred to during the briefing? Because many Nigerians have raised the question also, similar to what Governor Soludo said, that look, they can't even verify the names that are on the register, and nobody has seen anybody that collected money, particularly during the disbursement of cash transfers to COVID-19 victims, if I may use that phrase. So do you think that register you prepared and that you refer to can stand the integrity test if the governors now proceed to subject it to that integrity test that they say is the issue? They want to prepare their own. So they say.
By all means, let the governors go to their state operations and coordinating unit, SUCO, in the ministries of planning. Let them interrogate their registers. And I bet you none of them will come back to question that register. It is prepared with your coordinates of households and households members. This same social register is used by UNDP to mine and pay beneficiaries, which they have. Is used by UN Women. Are they now questioning the integrity of the United Nations organizations who have used the register? This register has been used by UNICEF. This register has been used by Give Directly in Kogi State for the flood victims. Are they questioning the integrity of these international organizations? This register has been audited, has been certified by the World Bank. Are they questioning the integrity of the World Bank as well? Yeah, I'm a Nigerian and I'm not a politician, I'm a technocrat. So if you say my register, which is not my register, is a National Social Register of the federal government of Nigeria as well as the state. It is indeed a national asset. Dr. Abati, that register has in itself 138 indicators for every household. It's the most comprehensive register of individuals in this country. And I asked the governors, please interrogate the register. Now, is it 100%? Is it perfect? Nothing is. But in science, you have a 5% error of margin, which is permissible. Do we need to update the register? Yes, we update the register regularly, and there are various forms of updating this register. One way of updating this register is through the grievance redress mechanism. The federal government had graciously given a code 969 that is used to call in to address grievances. The state operations and coordinating unit go back to the states, go back to the communities to update the register with relevant information for changes. As we know, the register is not static. There will be changes when you collect the data today. Even today, when you go back there tomorrow, there will be changes. And so there are systems and structures to update the register regularly. So I will ask the state government, rather than throw it out or question its integrity, engage with it first, analyze the data, and then come back to Nigerians, and perhaps we also both to come back to Nigeria and say, look, I've looked at this register. Here is what it is. Do we need to update it? The answer will be yes, because as you collect the data, there will be changes. Do we need to support the state teams to further strengthen it? The answer again will be yes. It is dynamic. That is why we are humans. That's why it's a human subject matter. Okay. But to question its integrity, where it has been certified by all international organizations, is not terrible. Yeah.
Perhaps what the governors are questioning is the reliability of those structures for updating, for reviewing, for monitoring the data. Maybe that's what they are talking about. Is there a reliable system in place for monitoring that data and making sure that it's up to date beyond what you referred to? Maybe that's what they are questioning.
Yes.
Because, you know, in Nigeria, we joke with data.
Yes.
We don't take data seriously.
Yeah, unfortunately, this particular database was tied to the World Bank loan with its conditions, right? And so the World Bank had its own monitoring system that it was monitoring the data and the development of it. The structures with the accountability structure for the social register under the NASCO was also established through the civil society organizations. Civil society organizations were monitoring the development of this data and were confirming the data. If you go to the website of NASCO, which is www.nassp.org, ncc.gov.ng, you will download the scorecard of the CSO report. And the CSOs were very, very clear that the register is not only authentic, is verifiable and usable, as evidenced by not only the federal government using it as for the cash transfer, but UNDP, UN Women, Give Directly, and other international organizations having the confidence in the register and using it. So I say the structures for update, the structures for monitoring, the structures of establishing its integrity, which lies in the community, which lies in the state, is well established. I think we can only build from here, Dr. Abati, if you ask me. If they interrogate the data, if they look at it, they'll be amazed at the quality of data that you have there. They'll be amazed at the level of information that you have. 138 data points. That means you can disaggregate this data by gender, by vocation, by disability, by dwelling, the kind of dwelling, housing these individuals live in, the kind of access they have to markets, the access to roads to their communities, their access to banks, their access to hospitals, access to educational facilities. The community profile will show you which communities have electricity over others. 177,000 communities that are on the social register. They know the access road to those communities and other social amenities present in this community. It's a huge national asset that we should not be, like you said, we joke with data, but it's a serious database that the state government should use it for planning, should use it for budgeting and tracking.
Dr. Apera, I get your point.
Yes.
About how the data can be used for national planning, development planning. But what Nigerians know is that this National Social Register, the only thing we know about it is cash transfer and distribution of palliatives. Palliatives that politicians will go and keep in their warehouses. So that's why Nigerians are skeptical. You are dealing with a question of trust here. And when they don't find their names on that register, they say, why is my name not there? If they are giving out cash transfer and they are giving out palliatives that constituted a problem during COVID-19. You guys obviously mismanaged the cash transfer during COVID-19 and the distribution of palliatives. Do you agree that that may be the main problem here? That the register is not being used for the development planning that you talked about. It's just to collect money.
So we need to separate two things, right? So there was the cash transfer for COVID-19 that was done 1 million by the government. That is trackable, is traceable. All the beneficiaries were mined from the social register. A single one of that beneficiary has a geo coordinate. The social register, all the households have geo coordinates. So you just need to pick the geo coordinate and it will take you directly to the household that benefited from this cash transfer. I mean, we have testimonies of those who have benefited from the cash transfer, right? Now, the palliative that then was a distribution of rice, oil, etc. was also handled by the state government. I think at that time, the ministry actually allocated and gave these things to the state governors. It was at the hands of the state governors that, of course, it is at the state level that the implementation happened. That we will not know what then happened at that point. However, from the point of view of NASCO, which strictly handled the social register and supported the government in designing the COVID-19 cash transfer, all the database and the evidence is there. Every single individual who is a Nigerian that wants to scrutinize this database and this record, it's there for you to do. Just type in on your Google, www.nssp.gov.ng. You will see the database there. Go to your state. And Dr. Abati, I challenge you and a journalist. You're just there in Lagos, next to Lagos Ministry of Planning. Form a team. Go to the Lagos State Ministry of Planning. Ask for the State Operations Coordinating Unit. Ask them to take you to the field. Give them the geo. They will give you the geo coordinates. You go there yourself, you find information. In fact, in Lagos State, the governor and the state executive council at that time so much believed in the social register that they passed a resolution in the executive council meeting that all social intervention in Lagos State must mine from the social register. The Lagos state government did not stop there. He went ahead to establish the State Operations Coordinating Unit into a department of planning as the department coordinating all social protection program in Lagos State. This is the level of confidence he had in it.
Okay.
So that is talking to the level of belief.
Okay.
That was and still is with the social register.
Okay, Dr. Apera, if what you are saying is true, what then do you think is the motive of these governors? Because some of those governors, many of them, who were at that National Economic Council meeting, attacking the National Social Register, they should know these facts that you have placed before us. So what then could be their motive? What do you think this is all about politics? Do you think they are just ignorant?
I think a good number of them are new. A good number of them just came into power, and they were just running on May 29th. So it's early days yet for them to know every facet of their state structures and systems that they have. Of course, they've had overview from the handovers that they got from their predecessors. So it will take them a bit of time to get involved and get into the nuances of the structures and systems that they have. So you give them time, right? And I'm very sure with time, and now that it's specific to them, every state has a state operations coordinating unit in the Ministry of Planning. Let them start by calling the permanent secretaries of planning. I know a good number of the states have not appointed commissioners yet, but they have permanent secretaries of Ministry of Planning who oversee state operations coordinating unit in their ministries. Let them call them, and all of them to call their state coordinators. When the state coordinators come, let them interact with them. This is an opportunity for them to engage with their registers. This is also an opportunity for them to even sample, set up a committee. And I'll, as a Nigerian, I'm talking now as a Nigerian, I'll ask, including my own state, you have brilliant young Nigerians, brilliant men and women of integrity in each of the states. Form a committee. Ask them to interrogate your register. Let them take a sample of the poor and vulnerable in the social register with their geo coordinates. Let them go to each community. They will engage with the community members who will even explain to them the process of raising the social register from the community point of view. When they come back, let them give support to the state government, to the SUCOs. In the past, in the last administration, governors like the governor of Kaduna State, Governor Rufai, supported the state when I was there, supported the state operations coordinating unit with 50 million naira to support them in further developing the register. He went ahead to approve a social protection policy that was tied on the social register. Now, the current governor of Kaduna State, the social protection policy of Kaduna State is a living document. It's domiciled in the state. Call for that document and read it. You will see clearly where it is stated. Then engage with your structures. The same thing with the governor of Anambra State. The former governor of Anambra State had passed that the social register be used in Anambra State. Call your handover notes. Call the Ministry of Planning. Call the state coordinator. Look at it. The Nasarawa State governor, fortunately, he was there before. Nasarawa State governor was also the chairman of the poverty reduction and growth strategy of the former administration. He signed the poverty reduction and growth strategy of Nigeria. Okay. And the poverty growth strategy of Nigeria specifically stated the use of the social register. So let him engage with the document. Evidence don't lie. They are there and they are bound.
Dr. Apera, I get all these your explanations as a technocrat. But see, the big issue, people like me, my name is not on that social register. I know many other people who don't know anybody.
You're not poor, Dr. Abati.
How? We are all in this together. If they are distributing 8,000 naira, they say they want to review it now. If they increase it to 10,000 naira, they should give it to all of us. After all, it's our money. So the average Nigerian says, why are they giving money to some people that we don't know, that we have not seen, and you don't even know anybody around you that is collecting any money? I guess part of the problem is that they should put all our names on that list. After all, the World Bank says, 7.1 million people will join the poverty group, and more will have joined with inflation now at 22.79, with the dollar exchanging for close to 1,000 naira to the dollar. So clearly, that register has to be updated to accommodate all of us, not some people, poor and vulnerable. All of us are poor and vulnerable. Do you agree?
Now, poverty, as you say, is relative, right? The National Bureau of Statistics, again, in 2022, issued out a survey report we call the Multidimensional Poverty Index Survey. Yeah. Now, this Multidimensional Poverty Index tells us that 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. But 61% of those or so are absolute poor. That relates with the absolute poverty head count of 40%. Being multidimensionally poor would mean that even though you are able to afford food or a meal a day, you might not be able to afford education. So you are educationally poor. You might not be able to afford hospital or health care service. You are health care poor. That's what the simple meaning of being multidimensional poor. So while others are cash trapped and cannot feed themselves, others simply can feed themselves but cannot afford to lay their hands on education, housing, transportation, etc., food security. Okay? Now, when you talk about the vulnerability or the inflation or the hardship occasioned by the removal of the oil subsidy, look at those who are most impacted. The most impacted will be the urban poor. They are the most vulnerable group. So your artisans, the bus commuters, civil servants, or the low wage employees, those who are janitors, cleaners, conductors, civil servants perhaps on grade level 1 to 4 or 1 to 6, they stand this risk. So what you will be doing at the moment is actually the state governors working with their state operations coordinating units, who, by the way, also has the structure to target the urban poor through the rapid response register that was developed by NASCO. Again, go to www.nssp.gov.ng and query or search for rapid response register. You will see very clearly the methodology and the system used to capture the urban poor. Is for them to deploy the mechanism of the rapid response register to identify the urban poor who have now fallen or who are vulnerable of being poor as a result of the removal of the oil subsidy, and target them for interventions. And these interventions can not only be cash transfer. You can do electrical tariffs. You give discounts for electricity. So maybe, Dr. Abati, you will fall into the category that they should give, and me too, of course, I'll fall into the category that you should give electrical discounts to, because the cost of electricity is now very, very high. Okay? So you might not give me cash transfer 8,000 or give you cash transfer as Abati 8,000, but they can give you electrical discounts, right? Of say 5% or 20% of the electrical bill, so that every month you clock in your card and you give a discount of 5% because you are made vulnerable by the removal of the oil subsidy. Okay? Or you are given oil subsidy card, where when you go to your filling station to buy fuel, you plug in your card and it says you are identified as being vulnerable, so you receive 5% discount on fuel. But the so rich, like perhaps our governors and others, can then pay for the full price of the fuel. This could be a systematic program that the government can come up with in various ways. And we have the technical know-how. We have the capacity, we have the systems. And the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office have a well-grounded structure and system in place to make all of this happen. All the government needs to do is to support the system, learn from what has been done, build on it, and move from there. The cost of developing a register, and also they should also Google, they should go and read global targeting mechanism in the globally. They should read it very carefully. They should read examples of Mexico, examples of Brazil, examples of Pakistan, examples of Tanzania and other countries of the world. They will see that the system developed in Nigeria, the hybrid system, is not only cost effective, but it's actually reliable. The data is there. The systems are there. Go back, engage with the same state structures and systems. That's all we ask. Is there anything difficult about that? Ministry of Planning of Lagos State it's less than 15 minutes drive from your office, Dr. Abati, to drive there.
Well, I would like to thank you.
So why would the governor just call them in and engage with them?
Well, Dr. Apera, I would like to thank you very much for joining us. But you know our concern. As ordinary Nigerians,
thank you very much.
All we are asking for is good governance. All we are asking for is good management. All we are asking for is political will that provides the leadership that the people of Nigeria are asking for. At the moment, many Nigerians think things are hard. And even if you are sharing 1,000 naira, everyone wants to, put their hands on top of that 1,000 naira. But I get your point, the comprehensive explanation that you are given. Thank you very much for joining us on This Is Live, the Sunday Talk Show.